Good morning, all, and welcome to the eThekwini Municipality Fixed Income Investor Update. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here with us today. My name is Unhlanganiso Gunene from Nedbank DCM Origination, and I will be your host. I am joined by my colleagues, Ranal Singh from Syndication and Distribution, and Pelogazi Tandwa from DCM Origination. The purpose of this update is for the eThekwini management team to share insights on the municipality's performance and outlook since the last engagement. The eThekwini delegation includes uSandile Mnguni, Chief Financial Officer, uSibonelo Mbele, Chief Investment Officer, and uLinda Enika, Senior Manager in the investments team. Just some housekeeping rules. Kindly keep your mics on mute and cameras off. We would prefer to keep the session interactive, so please feel free to raise your hand and ask a question, or you can type a question in the chat box. Please note that the session will be recorded. Kindly raise your hand if there's an objection to that. I will now hand you over to the eThekwini team. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you very much, Program Director. My name is Sandile Mnguni. As you've correctly pointed out, I'm with Usbonelo and also Ulinda. Colleagues, we're going to take you through our performance and our view in terms of the next 3 to 5 years in terms of what we're planning to do. The presentation, I understand, was circulated by the team yesterday. The overview of the agenda, I think, as I've indicated, we'll look at the different issues, including our strategy, catalytic project, our performance, and also the treasury management. The overview of eThekwini, our population based on the last numbers confirmed, it was about 3.9 million South Africans living within eThekwini. That equates to about 35% of the total population of KZN, which is about 12 million. eThekwini include the city of Durban and other areas within eThekwini. As far as the GDP, we're about 55. We're still about 55% of KZN, but 15% of the country. The port and maritime sector together are the main economic drivers of our economy. The sectors, the key sectors, the first one is your finance, followed by the first one is your community, followed by finance, manufacturing and trade. Those are the key sectors that are contributing to our economy in the city. As far as the governance, as you know, we had elections last year, November. As eThekwini, we are using a collective executive system in terms of the Structures Act and the Systems Act. So we do not have executive mayor, but we've got our mayor, Umxolisi Kaunda, who chairs the ESCO. The ESCO is made up of a number of political parties in terms of the collective executive system. That's how it's structured as far as governance is concerned. This team is led by the council. The council, basically, they provide the strategic direction to everyone. At the same time, they also set policy for us and play oversight in terms of the implementation of those policies and the strategic focus areas. That's how we are structured. Administratively, we are led by the Municipal Manager. Currently, acting Municipal Manager is Mr. Mbele. The filling of the post, that process is in progress. Some of you might have read in the newspapers about the progress. So we're expecting to conclude this process by around June. City manager or municipal manager is supported by the deputies. I'm one of them as the CFO, and also there are other deputy managers responsible for various clusters, your economic development, your infrastructure, your corporate, and so forth. The EXCO is led by Ubaba Umkolis Kaunda. Program director, I see the slides are not moving, and I think if colleagues can follow me using the presentation that was circulated. I think there's a technical glitch with my computer here. So I was on slide number 8, the governance. I've indicated to you that we are using a collective executive system. So Ubaba Mayor Kaunda is the chair of ESCO. As far as the seats are concerned, the ANC has got about 5 seats. One of the ANC seats is held by Deputy Mayor's party, and then we've got the other parties, EDA, EFF, and the IFP. EDA has got 3 seats, EFF 1 seat, IFP 1 seat. So it makes it 5 ANC seats and 5 opposition seats. With respect to our strategic priorities, colleagues, we all know that the past 7 days have been hectic for all of us here in Durban. Fortunately, we are still alive. We're trying to repair our infrastructure. But before the floods, the priorities of the city were as follows: having a safer city, an accessible city, an environmentally sustainable city, a city creating sustainable livelihood, socially cohesive, and financially sustainable. By 2030, as the eThekwini municipality, we would like to see ourselves as a caring and livable city where all citizens live in harmony. We do have challenges like other municipalities, and those challenges, they include the unemployment, the performance of our economy, the levels of poverty. As you know, eThekwini, as far as the rural areas is concerned, we've got a number of them compared to the other cities of Cape Town and Johannesburg. So our indigent is a bit higher than the other municipalities. We do have challenges as far as the infrastructure backlogs. The climate challenge, climate change. I think, yeah, it is real. We are seeing the impact of climate change on eThekwini. Financial sustainability, the COVID and the unrest last year did impact on us, but I can confirm that as a city, we are still financially sustainable. And also, I can confirm that despite the extensive damages that we've seen as far as our infrastructure the past week, we will still be financially sustainable because as a city, we've got capable people who will be able to guide us through these challenging times. How we plan as a city, I've already touched on the 6 priority areas as per our long-term plan. Currently, we are reviewing our IDP, which is your Integrated Development Plan. The IDP basically talks to our 5-year priorities, and some of the areas that we are focusing on as far as the IDP is your development and sustainability of our special natural and built environment, is to develop a prosperous and diverse economy, creating a quality living environment, fostering socially equitable environment, and supporting organizational design through our corporate, and having a vibrant and creative city. And the issue of good governance and being responsible to our citizens, and the financial accountability and sustainability. Those are the focus areas in our draft IDP. This IDP will be concluded at the end of should be concluded end of May by council. We also do have the spatial development framework. Basically, spatial development framework, it talks to our spaces, how we should be using our spaces. This as well is also being reviewed together with the EIDP. These will then inform, after the approval of council by end of May, these will then inform our service delivery budget implementation plan. That is normally signed off before end of June by Uba. Basically, that's a one-year plan which indicates clearly as to what we will be doing over the period of 12 months from 1st July to end of June next year. Our performance as far as the SDPIP for the past 5 to 6 years, last year we achieved 83.55% as far as those targets that we had set ourselves. And yeah, this year has been a challenge. We're still assessing the impact of the storm. We might have to adjust some of our targets because basically we've lost almost 2 weeks now. Currently, we are attending to the repair work, and some of the projects are on hold. Some of the achievements, if you look at various departments and units, water and sanitation, there were new connections that were done, over 5,000. New consumer units provided with access to free basic level of sanitation, about 8,000. New sewer connection, about close to 5,000. And electricity, we are servicing about 740,000 dwellings as far as the electricity. Roads and stormwater, there are those informal settlements that are benefiting about 9,900 from our incremental services. Unsurfaced road, 137, our roads division, they were able to attend to more roads during the financial year. The unsurfaced road, as you know, people do migrate to Durban and sometimes they create their own roads. So as the municipality, we do get involved to assist them in making sure that those roads are safe. Human settlement, which is a function we perform on behalf of province, we're able to do 1,700 houses for those beneficiaries that are unable to do their own or buy their own houses. We acquired 6,500 hectares of land, which is for subsidized housing. Coming to the impact of Ecovit, 1920, we spent about 468 million on the COVID. 2021, about 243 million. However, as far as the income is concerned, we also had to support our families that were battling due to unemployment and due to other challenges in terms of the relief package. The relief package for 2021, it was worth about 654 million. The year before, it was 169 million. So basically, we had to waive the interest as far as those that were unable to pay or those that were paying late. We had unrest first week of July last year. It did impact on us as the city, about 750 million loss of revenue due to non-payment and also due to the fact that some of the properties were burnt down. We're still helping business in terms of the reliefs. So the final numbers, we're expecting them by end of June because the applications are still coming through for the relief that we had offered. The other damages across the city, various businesses lost their stock, about 1 million. Damages to machinery and equipment, 566 million. Damages to properties, about 2.3 billion. A number of jobs were lost, especially around the retail and malls, because some of them, they are still being repaired. They are not operational as we speak. Jobs impacted with about 41,000. Floods, we've been heavily impacted by the floods that took place last week, Monday and Tuesday. The infrastructure that is impacted badly is our roads and bridges. Also, our water network has been impacted severely, as well as our electricity infrastructure. A number of substations were flooded. However, I must say that I'm very proud of the team, especially the team from electricity, because they were able to restore some of those substations, and people were able to continue receiving electricity from us. But I must say that as we speak, we are counting the cost. Currently, we're sitting at about 2.5 billion damages, excluding your human settlement. If you include the human settlement, we're looking at about 4.3 billion. I did say that although these are significant numbers we're talking about, but the city is still sustainable. We will find a way of dealing with these challenges. Yesterday, I did engage with the National Treasury, and they will be providing assistance at a later stage. And also various departments are here. Yesterday, we met with the Minister of Human Settlement, and she committed to support us in terms of those houses that we need to rebuild. As far as human settlement, we're looking at about 1.8 billion that we need to deal with. But national and province, they've committed to help us out. You can see the pictures yourself. It was reported that province, within eThekwini, we also have provincial roads and national roads. Your N2 is your national roads, and your N2, your N3 is your national roads, and all your R roads are provincial roads. So there were severe damage as well as far as that infrastructure, and they have reported about 5.6 billion. I've said to you, National Treasury will be helping us. They've committed to help us once we are ready with the final numbers. Catalytic project, I think we presented last time, and the information has not changed, but we are continuing with the implementation. Last month, Council approved the funding, more funding for the EThekwini project. And also, I think in February, Oceans project was also approved for additional funding. So the project are continuing because we want to ensure that we create those jobs that we've committed to create. As far as these high impact project, I think the big ones are your DTP, 54.1 billion, which is a project that started about probably 12, 13 years ago. We also have M4 Umhlanga North Corridor, which covers your Kunubia, your Sibaya, and the Oceans. I've spoken to Oceans. We also have the Central and North Corridor Midway Crossing, which was launched about 2 months ago. That one is now operational. Brickworks, that project, our part will be starting 1st July in terms of the construction. The inner city central corridor, where we've got your Durban Film Central Point precinct, we've got about 22.5 billion. The point one is almost about to conclude. The N3 West Corridor, I've spoken to in EThekwini. Construction will be taking place soon. because we've just made available additional funding. Cato Ridge, that project is in progress, as well as Keystone. South Corridor, the automotive supply is about 3 billion. That project is also being worked on. I'm not going to go through these details. I think I've already shared with you the progress as to where we are with respect to these various. Financial overview. This is our 2020-2021 financial year. Our financial position improved with a surplus of about 500 million compared to 257 million in the previous year. So COVID did impact on us, but we were still able to bring a surplus of 496. We were able to maintain a healthy liquidity, 5.4 billion compared to 4.4 the previous year. The spending capex, excluding human settlement, were at about 78%. If you bring in human settlement, we are about 90%. Human settlement, why we include or exclude, I think I must explain it. This is in terms of the accounting rules. Those houses that we build are not ours. So in terms of the budget rules, we bring them as capex, but when we account them in terms of the GRAB framework, we then exclude them because we account for them differently. They are not recorded as our assets or as capex. Increase in our revenue was about 3%. As far as the collection, despite the COVID impact, we're still able to achieve 95%. The credit rating, we're still good, long-term AA plus and A1 plus, short-term with stable outlook. We are currently going through the process for this year. We've met with our rating agency and we're providing information. We're able to again receive unqualified audit opinion last year, December. AG did confirm. Our performance as at end of March, surplus, we were at 2.6 billion, slight improvement from 2.4 billion in the previous year. Our liquidity were about 5.2 compared to the previous year. The spend year-to-date capex 93%. The total revenue by 10% from the same month period, and the 9-month average revenue collection about 93%. This is our split in terms of our revenue for 2020-2021. Service revenue is about 50%, is followed by your grants 23% and your property taxes or rates of 22%. Our expenditure is mainly your bulk, which is your Eskom and Umgeni, or electricity and water. And then your employee related cost sitting at 30%, which is almost the same as the norm as far as the MFMA circular is concerned. This is our analysis of our balance sheet. As at end of last year, our asset book, total assets 70.3 billion, and our total liabilities 28.2 billion. Year-to-date assets is about 75 versus your liabilities of 29 billion. Our cash and cash equivalent, I think I've already touched on it on the previous slide. Non-revenue water. Non-revenue water is high, but I must say that the budget that we tabled, the proposed budget that we tabled in March, at council is going to respond directly to the challenges that we are facing as far as the distribution losses. Is also responding to the electricity distribution losses. Electricity is about 11-12%, but we want to improve that to be lower than 10%. We've allocated almost over 3 billion in our proposed budget to deal with the water infrastructure so that we improve our water losses. But with respect to the storms that we've experienced, must indicate to you that our proposed capex of 15 billion for the next 3 years, we will have to relook at it so that we are able to fund the numbers that I've highlighted to you. That's how we will continue being sustainable. We will be reprioritizing the 15 billion that has been already approved in principle by council to deal with the storms. This is our collection from July to March. Due to COVID, it dropped a bit during the year, but it's now increasing. We've also, you might have read in the newspapers, we are also doing disconnections in line with our credit control policies as well. This is the comparison with the other metros. This information is available in the annual reports. I will hand over to Sibonelo to take us through the last section of the presentation. Thereafter, we can assist with questions. Thank you.
Again, good morning to everyone, and thank you very much for being part of this session. I'm going to take you guys through the treasury operation, which we just want to highlight the amount of debt that we have. And obviously in the presentation, you will realize that we had a 2021 June, we had about 9 billion rand, and that has subsequently reduced based on the repayment that we've done during the financial year. So the projection is that obviously in terms of the budget, we'll borrow about 1 billion rand this year, and it will take us back to just under 9 billion rand in terms of the balance. So that's the projections that we're looking at in terms of as of 30 June 2022. And obviously, the gearing is very low, and it continues to be low at approximately 20%. And what the split that we currently have at the moment, we have about 47% on from the development finance institution, and we've got about 53% from the commercial banks. So that's a split that we currently have as far as our debt book is concerned. So just to move on in terms of obviously the projections and how we fund our capex. So what happened is that we get some grant funding from the government, which is about 60%. You'll see it's hovering around the 3.5 billion rand for the next 3 years. And then we generate the surplus internally, which is approximately 1 billion rand, and we then borrow about 1 billion rand as well. So this is the plan for the next 3 years, that we will be borrowing about 1 billion rand each every year, and trying also to fund from our internal generated cash. We're planning to fund about 1 billion rand as well. So just moving on in terms of what we invest these monies on. The plan is to put a lot of money on the road infrastructure. followed by the housing, and then you will take into account the fact that most of the grants in any event, they are directed to this project, which is your housing and your road, and there is a substantial amount that is going to be put as well on water, as well as energy, and as well as the sanitation. So that's a plan going forward for the next 3 years, that we will be focusing on the road as well as housing, but obviously covering the economic development as well as the water and the electricity infrastructure or energy infrastructure. So the next slide, it's just we're just highlighting that we registered this program, and it's about 10 billion rand, and we're planning on tapping on it during this financial year. And obviously the last slide is then giving us an indicative issuance terms of what we're thinking. We're thinking that the issue size should be about 1 billion rand, and the auction date on the 24th of May 2022. And we're looking at the profile of a fixed with a government bond as a benchmark, and it's going to be a Dutch auction. And then currently there's a credit rating that we have, and we've got the GCR on site, which they are looking at obviously how the 2021 and 2022 is shaping up based on our current numbers. That's the end of our presentation. I think the last slide is then talks through the contact details should anyone want to be in contact with us together with our lead arranger. And at this point, I'd like to thank everyone for being part of this session, and we will then head over back to Unhlanganiso to take the questions for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you to the eThekwini team. Just checking in on any questions. If there are any questions, please feel free to raise your hand, or as indicated, you can use the chat box as well. We'll just give some time to see if there's any show of hands at this stage. Cherie, please go ahead.
Thanks, Ronelle. To the eThekwini team, thanks so much for the update. I understand that everything, in terms of numbers, most relate to financials for the year ended 30 June 2021. However, since then, effectively KZN is declared as a state of disaster, natural state of disaster at the moment. Can you give us a bit of insight as to your expectations with regards to the industries specifically that the floods and the current status of KZN, how that will influence specific industries and where you expect industries to suffer the most? Just you guys are on the ground and closer to get what's happening there. So just want to get your insight as to a little bit of a better understanding on that and the impact on different industries in South Africa.
Well, thanks, Cherie. Can I hand that question over to Sandile, CFO, for a response?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Hey, I'm still. I'm sure the colleagues, you can see that I'm trying to recover. For the past 7 days, we've been working very hard. I think on Friday we couldn't sleep. In fact, we worked the whole night trying to sort out our infrastructure. So as I've said to you, the focus last week was to restore the services. Electricity, we were able to restore a number of substations, but what had happened, the electricity infrastructure, your substations, and some cables were damaged, substations were flooded. So we had to try and restore those. We were successful in a number of cases. However, as you know, electricity and water is a challenge. They don't mix. So what we will experience over the next 3 to 6 months, we will have a number of faults. So we are increasing our capacity to ensure that we are able to respond timeously whenever they are faulted. The water as well was heavily impacted. Electricity, we're looking at about 360 million damages. As far as the industries, they were impacted by electricity, but we've managed to restore a number of areas. I can say to you that there is about 3 of our big customers that we are still currently trying to sort them out. In that case, we've placed orders for cables that were damaged. And as soon as we receive those orders, we will then restore those 3 big customers. Other than that, electricity, we are almost stable now. But we still need to replace a number of substations. As I've said to you, as an interim, we are to restore them, but they will give us some issues over the next 3 to 6 months if we do not replace them. So the process of replacement has been initiated. Coming to water, we're looking at about 350 million damages that we've incurred. A number of our pipes were affected. A number of our pipes, they are also linked to the breaches. Whenever a breach has collapsed, in most cases, there were also our water infrastructure there. So we are busy trying to restore that one, but I think it's going to take a bit of time because, as you know, water, we get it from Umgeni. Umgeni, they get it from the dams. Umgeni, 2 aqueducts were broken, and they are still currently fixing them. I must say to you that after the storms, we're only receiving less than about 46% of water from Umgeni. So instead of receiving the normal 97%, we're only getting less than 50%. So as a result, there's a challenge from the supply side, whilst at the same time our infrastructure is also not ready. So Umgeni is fixing its own infrastructure. We are also fixing our own. But in the meantime, what we're doing, we are providing water tankers to all those that are affected. I was also affected. I did not have water for about 3 days last week and 2 days this week, but my service has been restored. A number of areas have been restored. What we did last week for the hotels and hospitals and other industries, we were supplying them with the water tankers. But as we improve, we're going to then reduce the number of water tankers that we are using. So that's your water. Sanitation damages there is about 400 million. That one as well is going to take a bit of time because it's linked, as you know, it's linked to water infrastructure. As we sort out water, we'll sort out our sewer pipeline as well. So it's going to take a bit of time, but I think people are not severely impacted as far as sanitation is concerned. It's our treatment works that we need to sort out. Otherwise, there is a risk of your environmental challenges. And then if you come to roads and bridges, you've seen in the pictures a number of our road network or road infrastructure was damaged, and a number of bridges were damaged. But I'm sure you've also seen that Umlazi, which is the second biggest township in South Africa, the main entry point there, we couldn't access it. But as I've said, our team is very capable. They were able to repair the bridge over the weekend. So now people are able to use that route, but we've not restored it to full capacity. And over the next 2 to 3 months, we're hoping to restore it to full capacity. But at least people are able to go in and out of Umlazi Township. There are also other areas where the bridges are affected, and we will be dealing with that infrastructure. As far as the roads and bridges and storm management system, there the estimate to date is about 1.3 billion. So then the question, how do we deal with these matters as far as our budget? So we've got these numbers, as I've said to you, about 2.5 relates to all the other assets, your electricity, water, as I've said, your roads and bridges. The 1.8 is your human settlement. I'll deal with human settlement later. So the 2.5 billion, this is what we're planning to do. The colleagues, as we speak, they are busy doing the cash flows based on the assessment that they've conducted. So they will come back and indicate as to how much they require from now till June. We will then make available monies from our reserves. And then from July to June next year, what we will do, we've already tabled our 15 billion capex budget for the next 3 years. So we will have to reprioritize that budget to ensure that it responds to the storm disasters that we've experienced. As far as human settlement, I did indicate to you that yesterday there was a meeting with the Minister Kubai and also the MEC. We engaged on a number of issues there. In fact, from tomorrow, they will be starting with the repairs with respect to human settlement, and then also putting temporary structures for the people that are currently in the halls to ensure that they are in a place that is more reasonable compared to where they are currently. So that's our approach as far as the disaster is concerned. We are sustainable. We will continue being sustainable. So we'll be able to manage what has happened to us. And I've said National Treasury is also on board. I've engaged them yesterday. They will be assisting us. Thank you, Program Director. I think that one should be covered.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
Perfect. Thanks, Sandile. We do have 2 more questions in the chat box. The first question comes from Rowan William Shaw. Thank you for your presentation. Please explain why you're issuing an amortizing bond and not a vanilla nominal bond. So Vanilla, are you happy to take that?
Yes, Bonello will come in, but I must say that if you look at our loan book, I think it's about 9 billion. It's mainly vanilla. It's almost 100% vanilla. Yeah. So we're trying to diversify, but Bonello will come in. Maybe before I leave, can I ask the colleagues if you've got any donations, please contact us. We do need donors under these trying circumstances. Swanello can share more details with you if you are willing to assist us.
Thank you very much for that question. So what we have as far as our book is concerned, as you know, that we've got we go out to the market and we take a fixed and amortized loans, and that's what we're planning to do. And the reason why we're not going for the bullet is that we're trying to manage the cash flow from our side, and that's why we've opted more often than not to go with at least an amortized cost. And I hope that answers the question from the audience. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Vanilla, for that. We have another question from Antoinette Westhuizen. Thank you for the update. Kindly provide overview of the function of the coalition management. That's the first part of the question. What are your measures in place to consider the political killings in the region? And thirdly, what is the consequent management of employees, implicated officials? Lastly, how does the municipality manage the conflict of interest? If I can hand over to the CFO for a response there, please.
Thank you. Let me start from the last one. Conflict of interest, how it is managed. We do have a policy which dictates that all employees and councillors should be disclosing their interest. And in addition, in terms of our SCM policy, when people do submit tenders, they are required to declare their interest. And before tenders are awarded, there is a process of verifying the directors whether they are in the service of the municipality or not. And then the second one, with respect to consequence management, our irregular expenditure, I think in the past, was very high. I must indicate that last year, council approved irregular expenditure reduction strategy. And that strategy is very clear in terms of what needs to happen as far as consequence management. So after the strategy was approved, they also approved the Financial Misconduct Committee. That committee is basically charged with the responsibility of analyzing all the case and deciding as to whether people should be disciplined or not, and also advising council where there are sanctions with respect to the people that report to the council. So there is that process that is currently in place. What are the measures in response to political killings? Political killings, I think, is an issue for the city. I think early this week we heard that one of the politicians was killed. The political parties are engaging internally in terms of finding a way forward as far as these challenges are concerned. We normally see these when we are approaching either by-elections or when we are approaching elections. But with respect to our own councillors, we do have security management units that does monitoring of security risk for all our councillors. And whenever there is a need, they do beef up capacity, security capacity for those councillors. But at the same time, the political parties are expected to continuously engage to ensure that they avoid these killings. Collision management, how is it's managed? It's new to us, but I think we've learned from the other municipalities. Our deputy mayor, as I've said, is from the opposition, is part of the coalition. So he was allocated a seat in the executive committee. We do have other small parties which he represents. So as far as the EXCO is concerned, as I've said, is 5 seats ANC, including the one occupied by the deputy mayor, and 5 seats opposition. Normally, we've not had challenges. I think there was only one issue that we experienced recently with respect to the appointment of the city manager. So at ESCO, whenever they have to vote, as I've said, ANC is 5 and the opposition is 5, and the chairperson, the mayor, always has a casting vote. So I think we are stable there, unless one of the members of the ANC is not in attendance. Sometimes it becomes a challenge. And then when it comes to council, I think with the coalition partners, they are the majority. Our number of councillors is about 222, and the majority required for most of the decisions is about 112 councillors. So with the coalition partners, they are more than 112. They are able to pass the decisions. And there is continuous engagement with the partners to ensure that whenever they go to council, there is preparation, and where they are not of the same view, they are able to reconcile before council meeting or before ESCO meeting. So that's how, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I understand, that's how the matter is being managed. So they will continue managing it that way. And I know that they are learning from the other municipalities, especially the Ekurhuleni, because as you know, in the previous term, I think it's only Ekurhuleni where they did not have challenges from 2016 right to 2020, 2021. I think those are the responses and the issues that were I've noted, 4 issues. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO. I think the next question is for you as well. It comes from Jackie Aberley. Thanks for the information. Please could you give us an overview of how the procurement government aspects will be managed given the experience with which the flood repairs need to be implemented?
The procurement, it is a risk, and we've already put in place a task team that will manage or that will advise the accounting officer in terms of the appointments that will be made. But I must indicate to you, I'm not having, I think I'm comfortable based on the processes that we are following. For example, I said to you with respect to roads and stormwater, we are estimating about 1.3 billion. How we deal with the roads and stormwater infrastructure, we've got 3 contracts. One servicing the north, one servicing the south, and the other one is servicing the central and the west. So there are already service providers that assist us with the road rehab. And those are the people that will be assisting us in repairing our roads and other assets. So we are covered there. We don't have to go out to tender because the scope covers the road rehab. Every time there is rain, we need to rehabilitate our road, and those contractors are there to assist us. When it comes to electricity, they do have a panel of contractors. However, with respect to the example I made earlier on, where we are currently waiting for the cables, in that case, we will be using the deviation process because we do not have panel for those people that are supplying us with the cables. In South Africa, there is 2 service providers. So we will use the deviation process to access those cables on an emergency basis. The policy does allow us, the legislation does allow us to do that. And I think it's a straightforward issue because we've got 2 service providers in South Africa and we've been buying from them over the years. And the prices will ensure that they are in line with our recent purchases from them. And then when we look at the human settlement, again, there we've got panel of contractors that are assisting us with the building of houses, so it should not be an issue. Where we are thin in terms of the contract is water and sanitation. There, for professionals, we do have a panel, so we'll use the panel. However, for the contractors, we do not have. So we will be following an emergency process. However, that process, we've already instructed the departments to ensure that it is a transparent process. Things will be advertised on our website for a few days to ensure that everyone is able to then provide their quotation so that we get value for money from those procurement. So that's how our procurement will unfold over the next 3 weeks. But as I've said, I'm not that worried. It's only, I think it's mainly water and sanitation that they might have some challenges, but we will follow a very transparent process. Thank you.
Thank you for that response, CFO. At this stage, there are no further questions, either on the chat box and also no show of hands. Just a last request from the guest. If there are any questions, please feel free. Otherwise, I think I see there's a hand coming up from Antoinette. Please go ahead.
Hello, thank you. Thank you very much. I just wanted to ask a question on the Economic Development and Planning Committee. There was some news flow that it was dysfunctional, saying it was unable to discharge its mandate. It probably points to the procurement as well. Could you just perhaps give clarity on that? Thank you.
Economic Development Committee, that's the subcommittee of ESCO. So I must say that in some cases, you'll find that committees are unable to sit. But those subcommittees are subcommittees of ESCO. So if they are not able to deal with, for example, the Economic Development Committee, they deal with planning issues. If they are not able to deal with those planning issues, then they escalate to ESCO. I remember, I think the first week of this month, ESCO dealt with some of the items coming from the planning. So we don't have crisis. If they're not able to meet, ESCO will then take over the items. But I must say that they do meet unless there is a challenge as far as the quorum is concerned. With respect to the disasters, our committees, they normally meet second week or third week, which is last week and this week. I must say that due to disaster, they've not been able to meet. But as I've said to you, ESCO, tomorrow they are meeting, and also on Tuesday they are meeting to ensure that all the matters that have not been dealt with are dealt with at that level. So we do not have crisis with respect to that. Thank you, Program Director.
Thank you, CFO. Antoinette, is that a new hand?
Yeah, it's a new hand. Just one last question. On your
Go
capital
ahead.
expenditure slide, there's an amount, a small amount there on the Executive Council of 400 million. Could you explain what that is for? And why is environment protection so low?
That 400 million, I think, is made up of 330 million is for the ward-based project. The ward-based project are made up of mainly your speed bumps, all the small projects that we do per ward, your speed bumps, your access road, your small bridges that we do for school kids. So yeah, out of that 400 million, 330 relates to that. And then there are other small projects there as well, including from IT side. I didn't get the second part.
Just in terms of ESG and you know, the targets going forward, I see there's very little being spent on environment protection. Or are there other ESG matters included in the other categories?
Oh, okay. It appears small because it's in comparison to the others, but the resources that are allocated to them are adequate for them to fulfill their responsibilities. So this matter for us is a priority. It's always a priority.
So you are on your way in terms of the ESG, your ESG mandate, and your okay.
Yes. There are also resources allocated to your energy sources as well. So yeah, that matter is a priority for us.
Okay, thank you.
Antoinette, are you comfortable there with the responses?
Yes, thank you very much.
Perfect. I see there's a hand from Olga. Olga, please go ahead with your question.
Hi, and thanks very much for the presentation. I just, and apologies, I had to join late. I saw on one of your final slides, you had as your aim, and I said also on your presentations on Treasury's website, etc., that by 2030 you want to be the most caring and livable city. And I guess I was just curious about what metrics you'd be using to measure that, and if we can expect an update on those metrics at each reporting period. I think the concerns are that, given some of the questions I've asked earlier about the riots last year, certainly about the floods, certainly some of the press we've seen around councillors diverting resources meant for citizens to themselves. I think, there's some concerns about, saying things and doing things that might not necessarily match up. Can you maybe just talk through some specifics about what metrics you as the city are going to be using to measure yourselves to make sure that you meet your own target of being the most caring and livable city by 2030? Thank you.
Yeah, as far as our vision is concerned, as I've said, we've got a 5-year plan in IDP, and it's very clear as to what we need to achieve in order for us to be considered as the most livable city. And one of those, they include ensuring that our coverage as far as electricity is concerned is almost close to 100%. Our water and also sanitation, we want to ensure that it's almost close to 100%. I'm saying almost close to 100% because there is also an issue of migration which happens on a year-to-year basis. So we want to ensure that whoever is in Durban is able to get all the services, basic services that we are charged with the responsibility of providing. At the same time, we are saying we are a caring city. Caring meaning that those that are not able to afford our services, we are able to provide the free services to them. At the same time, we want to ensure that we are safe, we are improving our security, and all those indicators will be articulated in our service delivery budget implementation plan, which will be finalized end of June. And we will be measured on those, and we will report on those come end of next year to you.
Olga, are you comfortable with the response there? Any follow-ups?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, you know, intentions are one thing, and measurable
but maybe
outcomes
are
useful.
There's a matter that was referred to where the councillors are diverting resources. There was a clip that was circulating during the week where people were saying we're stealing, our staff are stealing food. You know, when we faced with a disaster and people have not slept for a number of days, it is unfortunate to receive those things. And I'm sure you saw in the video that there was a police van that was also carrying some stuff. So basically there, what happened? Some of the members of community that had donated, they wanted the staff to take food to certain areas. That place is controlled. There is a register in terms of how many shelters we're supplying with the materials and food. So the employees were purely doing the allocation based on that register. They had to prioritize based on what they'd provided the previous day. So they couldn't then divert food to the areas that the communities wanted to divert it to. So as a result, then we had people decided to then make a lot of noise. But as a city, we are a caring city. We wanted everyone to get food and to get all the things that they wanted to get instead of focusing on specific areas. So yeah, it was unfortunate that it was reported that way, but we did issue a statement at the matter.
Can you comment on the water tanker that went to the councillor's house?
Yeah, that's one as well. The water tanker went to the Premier's house. That one is unfortunate. However, it was addressed as you might have listened to the radios. I know Premier was on SAFM the other day. That area did not have water, so Premier contacted the municipality to say our area does not have water. But the unfortunate part, our municipality staff then took the truck to Premier's house instead of looking for a central area where people could come and access water. But people were still able to access water from the truck. I can confirm that it's been reallocated. It's still there, but reallocated to ensure that people are still able to access water.
Yeah, I mean, there's a justifiable amount of cynicism, I think. And I mean, the very fact that the tanker went to the house first instead of going to a particular area, there should be processes in place to prevent that kind of misconception at best.
Yeah, no, that one is now.
It's a concern.
Yeah, and that's what now is being managed. I did say to you that I also did not have water. The water truck did come to my area, but it was not next to my house. They were at Woolies shopping center, and I did go there with everyone else, all my neighbors, to go and fetch water. So I think it was unfortunate what happened, but yeah, we've dealt with it, and people are getting water.
So I think as a general comment, and I think it speaks to some of the questions certainly that my colleague Antoinette asked, is that it's one thing to deal with a problem after the fact, but I think certainly as investors, what we would be looking for is processes, controls, things in place to manage them before they happen, you know, yeah. So I think that's quite an important aspect for us, just, you know, and it is something that we do look at in quite a lot of detail.
Yeah.
Just to highlight that. Thank you.
Yeah. No, point well taken. But I think it's important to highlight that we're under disaster. Crisis, yeah, sometimes people don't always comply. If, for example, I phone to say, hey, I don't have water, I don't have electricity, and people will say, Sandile Mnguni stays in this address, it's highly likely that they will come direct to my address instead of going to a central place. I think I'm not trying to defend it, but I think under crisis, sometimes we do get these exceptions, but as management, we have to deal with them, and we've dealt with the matter. Thank you.
Thanks. CFO, at this stage, I see no further questions from the audience.
Just one more
Okay.
question from my
I see
side.
there's one more from Antoinette. What is your view on, one, refurbishing the supply chain corridor, road and rail? Secondly, how long will this take? And thirdly, who is leading the coordinated management of all stakeholders? Back to you, CFO.
With respect to eThekwini is working with the province and also the national entities that are affected. I'm sure you've heard that we almost had a crisis as far as fuel is concerned, because one of the road that is going to the port was also damaged. So we had to work with the Transnet there and other players to ensure that we open that as soon as possible or divert to another route. That one we were able to deal with it. So now there is access. Fuel is no longer a challenge in our city and other areas. With respect to roads infrastructure within eThekwini, we are working with both province and national. As I've said, we've got your N3 and your N2, which are owned by National Department of Transport and SANRAL. So they've come on board, they are assisting us there. We also have your province, they are responsible for the R roads, and they've also committed to assist us. As far as the timelines are concerned, the short term is to attend to those that are critical and urgent to attend to. And it's short term meaning from now until June. And then beyond June, the focus will be on ensuring that those that were not critical at this stage, they are then attended to. It might take 12 months till end of June next year to sort out all of them, because in some cases, the departments might also have to follow the long process of SCM. With respect to rail, that one is PRASA that is working with us. I can tell you that we do have a disaster management center as the municipality. After this meeting, I will also be going there. Almost everyone is there. You've got your police, you've got your SANDF, various state entities, where they are looking, and there is coordination in terms of what needs to happen to deal with the crisis or the disaster that we had experienced. So there is a coordination, and we'll continue coordinating as eThekwini to ensure that the people of eThekwini are able to get the services that they deserve. Thank you.
Antoinette, are you comfortable with the response?
Thank
Are
you,
there any
yeah.
follow-ups?
Thank you so much, and my empathy with your situation.
Perfect. Thank you for that. In the absence of any further questions, I'd hand over to the CFO for some closing remarks at this stage.
Yeah, no problem, Director. Thank you very much for the engagement and the questions. Are appreciated, and I hope you've shared more information as far as eThekwini is concerned. And as I've said, I'm proud of this organization. I think we've got capable people that are able to respond to crisis situation. And we'll go through this process, this current crisis, and we'll still be sustainable, as I've said to you. And yeah, I'm looking forward to our future engagement, and we will report when we meet again in terms of what we've done with respect to the storms and what we are doing with respect to the implementation of our strategy as highlighted earlier on. And thank you to the team, Ulinda no Sbonelo, and thank you to the Nedbank team for the support. From eThekwini, we like to thank everyone for participating.
Thank you so much, CFO, for the closing
And we're looking
remarks.
forward to your participation when it comes to the process that will be unfolding over the next 6 weeks.
Perfect. Thank you for reinforcing that as well. And on that note, as Nedbank, we'd like to thank the eThekwini team for providing the presentation and for responses to all the questions that were posed. We'd also like to thank the investors for making time to engage. And should you wish to have any further engagement, please, our contact slide and details are on the slides provided. You can either contact the Nedbank team or you directly to the team at eThekwini. If there are any further questions you wish to pose to us, do reach out to us. The recording will be made available to everyone that has attended this morning's session. And I think on that note, just to say thank you to everyone. Have a great day further, and we look forward to further engagements as we lead up to the bond issuance in May, as the CFO has indicated. Thank you all. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the eThekwini team.
Thank you. Thank you from us.
Everyone, bye.
Thank you.